Hi everyone, this is my BookTube-A-Thon Wrap Up video. I hope you had an awesome week reading your books, and I hope you end up reading all 7 of them. I only got through 5 books, so let's get right to it. The first book that I read was The Secret Life of Bees, and I gave this book 3 stars. I thought it was a really sweet, well-written book, but I didn't like how slow burning it was. It was just, there wasn't much going on all throughout, except I think the very end where for like one chapter something, I don't know, something life-changing was happening, so I didn't like that. But with that being said, I did like the ending just because whatever I wanted to happen, happened, so I was happy about that. This book is about a girl named Lily, and her mother died, so she's raised by her abusive dad and also by a black woman who works at their farm. Her and Rosaline get into some trouble, and the two of them have to escape from Lily's dad's house, and actually escape their hometown. So they're off in a different place. And they end up in a town where Lily's mom spent a lot of her time before her death. So Lily is able to learn some stuff about her mom, her mom's life that she was pretty curious about but had no way of finding out. Overall, this was a pretty nice book. It was really well written, and I thought it was interesting in terms of all the themes that it touched on, like racism, and abusive relationships, things like that. I don't know that I would want to read other books by this author just because I don't really enjoy books that are so slow and nothing much happens until the very end. I don't know, maybe I'll just have to give another book a try, but I don't know. I didn't love this book, unfortunately. The second book that I read is called Fahrenheit 451, and this is about a fireman named Guy Montag who works in the fire department. In this book, though, the firemen actually don't save houses from fire, they set the houses on fire. So if a house is suspected of having some books in it, then they come out to that house and burn that house down, destroy all of the books. And in this book, the main source of entertainment for the people is supposed to be watching TV and sort of getting immersed in that world. So I guess this is sort of like the message of the book, that you can easily just get consumed by watching TV shows and things like that. So I gave this book 3 stars. I've read it previously. I feel like I liked it better the first time than I did the second time. Embarrassingly enough, I fell asleep halfway through reading this book, and I think it was probably because I just couldn't really get into the characters very much. I don't know, it was a quick read. I just couldn't fully enjoy it like I thought I would. So unfortunately, it just didn't turn out to be the kind of book that I was loving at that time. But if you haven't read this before, I highly recommend it, just because it has very interesting perspectives on life and on sources of entertainment that people like to take part in. So definitely something interesting to read. The next book that I read is called Pet Sematary by Stephen King, and I was really looking forward to reading this one because I genuinely enjoy Stephen King's books. According to him, this is the scariest book he's ever written, so I sort of went in expecting to read like a super scary book. I thought it was creepy and weird and odd, but I wasn't very scared after reading this book. I thought, I don't know, some people might be scared, but I wasn't. I didn't have any nightmares or anything. So I recommend it if you've been thinking about reading some Stephen King but you've been sort of shying away from it because you think it's scary. I don't think it is. It is a long book. It was 550 pages, but I found it was just such a quick read. I read it in like 2 days. So it was a very fun read. This is about a family who moves to Maine, and their new house is right by a very busy road. They meet an older couple who live across the street from them, who tell them a little bit about the area where they moved to. And nearby their new house is a pet cemetery where kids from that area have been burying their beloved pets. And if you know anything about Stephen King's books, obviously it's not just your basic pet cemetery. It's a pet cemetery that has some funky stuff going on there. So I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but the family's cat dies, and I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything. So the cat dies. There's a pet cemetery behind the house. You have to put the two and two together, but for that you have to read this book first, and I promise it will be a great read, and there's some way crazier stuff happens than just the whole cat thing, so trust me on this. If you're interested, then I highly recommend this. The next book that I read was You'll Grow Out It by Jessie Klein. This book is a collection of short stories from her life, and they're very humorous and funny, and I found myself laughing at them a lot. She touches on a lot of the subjects like dating, relationship problems. I'd say majority of the topics were sort of centered around relationships and troubles with the relationships, having a hard time getting into a relationship, and just, you know, that sort of thing. Just also she touches on some womanly struggles. Like one of the short stories was about poodles and wolves, how the poodles are the women who are just all, you know, very well put together, whereas the wolves are the ones who are just can't, no matter what they do, they're just never gonna be that, you know, that a classy lady, or I don't know. You have to read the book to really sort of get the message about it. And I thought it was really funny too. The thing that I didn't really like about this book was the fact that she shared a lot of her experiences, and while a bunch of them were very relatable in a really funny way, a bunch of them weren't, just because she talked about her upscale vacations, like these magical retreats that she went on, that, you know, like a normal person isn't going to go and do that and sort of spend the money on that sort of thing. And she'd traveled from California to New York for like a one-night stand. It was, you know, like not something that a regular person would do, basically. Like, you're not just gonna like buy the tickets, fly, and then, you know, just, it's a long trip. You're not gonna do that. So in that sense, that was hard to relate to. But overall, I thought it was a really funny book. And if you don't really dig too deep into it and, you know, just look for other meanings in it, then it was an enjoyable read for me. But near the end, I started thinking too much about it, and that's where it sort of lost a bit of its magic. Last but not least is Carrie, also by Stephen King, and I gave that book 3 stars. That book, as I'm sure most of you know something about it, is about a girl who's a high school student, and she has these supernatural powers, if you will, where she can like move objects and control things. Basically, she can do these sorts of things, but people around her don't know about it, and she goes to a high school where she gets bullied, and that causes her to react in a very intense way. And, you know, basically the way it's written, it's like it consists of like news articles after the fact. So like before it happens, you sort of kind of learn about it already, and it almost goes like kind of backwards. Like you already know that something happened, so it doesn't start out like a regular book where it's just like leading up to it. This is like you get views from a bunch of different people. It's like newspaper articles, like pieces, like excerpts from books, things like that. So it's just it was a very interesting writing style used in this book. I liked it. I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite Stephen King book by any means. It wasn't super scary either. I mean, just like with all of his books, they're creepy, they're weird, but I didn't think it was scary. I didn't get a chance to watch the movie, but I really should, because I'm just curious to see how the movie portrays this book. Overall, it was a pretty quick read. It was pretty enjoyable, so I was pretty happy with it overall. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you had an awesome BookTube-A-Thon. Please let me know how many books you ended up reading for it, and also please let me know if you read any of these books and what you thought about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.